This is Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing. You're watching Sporting Icons. You don't need to be anywhere else.
Now, first of all, I do apologise. I know I'm a little bit behind on some of the news. I've had so much stuff to do, so I do apologise. And I have seen a lot of you guys comment on this particular subject, which is Anthony Joshua. In a nutshell, he's saying that Tyson Fury, his resume ain't all that. He doesn't understand why people say that Tyson Fury is untouchable. And again, I have to put myself in that bracket as well, from a certain point of view, because I've said that Tyson Fury, if you don't want you to hit him, you ain't hitting him. So I do have to put myself in that bracket as well, plus a few other things. Now, I want to get into Anthony Joshua's statement, then of course I'll give you guys my opinion. Now, I don't have a horse in the race when it comes to Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. I like them both, but of course I have criticised probably Tyson Fury more than I have Anthony Joshua. That's because Tyson Fury puts himself out there a whole lot more than what Anthony Joshua does. Anyway, this is what Anthony Joshua had to say on Sky YouTube broadcast. If the sport is lacking so much talent, it shows you that all you need is feint and a bit of movement to be called a great. I wonder what people see in Fury that is so intimidating that he can't be touched. When you're willing to challenge the best in the division, Vladimir Klitschko was his first real challenge and he won that. That took him 8 years to get there, from the amateurs to there. Then he had years out and fought Wilder, but he's not been in the deep end to prove that he can swim there for a long time. You don't just come in there once or twice, you have to do it repeatedly against championship level fighters. That is how you gain my respect. When I bumped into Fury the other day, it was random. That's the first thing that we speak about when we see each other. Are we fighting? It has to happen. We're both heavyweights in this era. I am keen. I'm up for the big, fun nights and creating history. There's nothing to lose from us getting in the ring. We should just get in and get cracking and give everyone a great night of boxing again. We fight for the good nights and the competition. We want to fight the best. There's nothing to lose from this. Fighting the best is what it's all about. Anthony Joshua's statement. Now, okay, so to say that when Tyson Fury, he turned from amateur and then went to fight Klitschko 8 years, yeah, that's a long time. But again, a lot of that, let's be fair, is down to the fact that Tyson Fury didn't have the push behind him, didn't have the money. Of course, he was promoted and managed by Mick Hennessy. Mick Hennessy didn't have the kind of bank account or the platform that, say, Eddie Hearn had or has with Anthony Joshua. So the difference, the parallels are complete opposite. Tyson Fury, he had to scratch and claw and fight on the small halls, fight on the shows when nobody else was watching, with like a couple of hundred people in there, maybe at best at times. So what Fury done, he'd done it the long way. Of course, he didn't have the Olympic background as well, like Anthony Joshua did. But at the same time, when you look at both of their amateur careers, while Joshua is Olympian, of course, gold medalist, Fury not, but Fury has had more amateur fights than Anthony Joshua. When they both turned pro, they both turned pro with Rob McCracken. Rob McCracken, of course, is still Anthony Joshua's trainer. Of course, Tony Sims was with Anthony Joshua as well. Tyson Fury was in fact trained by Rob McCracken. Now, since turning pro, yes, Anthony Joshua, he has been given the push. So, of course, the opportunities were there in abundance for Anthony Joshua. The hype machine was there. But of course, Anthony Joshua, he had to live up to the hype. And that's exactly what he has done. Tyson Fury, for most of his career, right up until, I'll probably say he joined up with Peter Fury, nobody was really saying Tyson Fury is a world champion. Tyson Fury is a world champion material. People weren't talking about that. When Tyson Fury was coming through, people were talking about the likes of David Haye. Of course, the last part of Audie Harrison as well. And of course, a lot of people were talking about David Price. They weren't talking about Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury, who punched himself in the face. He looked uncoordinated. He didn't look like he carried too much power. Scraped through a couple of fights. Of course, one of them we know with McDermott, that the first one, should he have got the decision? Should he not have done? It was a dubious decision, that's for sure. Even Frank Maloney, currently Kelly Maloney, had a heart attack after that one. But Fury, he made sure of it in the rematch and totally outdone John McDermott. Fury, again. Now, he has had some acid tests. So when Anthony Joshua says that Tyson Fury hasn't really had, say, the tests, and it took him right the way up to the Vladimir Klitschko fight, which was his 25th or 24th fight, something like that, where Anthony Joshua is right now. Anthony Joshua has had 25 fights currently. So yes, Joshua's done a whole lot more quicker than Tyson Fury. But again, that goes back to the backing. But to say that Fury hasn't really had the acid test, he hasn't been through the fire in order to get respect, he has. 2 fights with Derek Chisora. He was the one who took the O from Derek Chisora. He has other acid tests as well. He got dropped by Pajek. He got dropped by Steve Cunningham. So he had to get up. Again, he's fighting to what was his ability, and he was coming out on top each and every time. So Tyson Fury deserves a hell of a lot of respect. And of course, when he did go over to Germany and Dusseldorf and dethroned Vladimir Klitschko, Vladimir Klitschko was a 9.5 year reigning heavyweight champion, unified one at that. Tyson Fury, of course, went over there, done the business, absolutely done him, become the champion. So at that point, that is when people were taking Tyson Fury seriously. But again, it wasn't for want of trying. Tyson Fury, he was trying to get the big fights. He was trying to get the David Haye fight, if you guys remember, and David Haye pulled out twice. There were other fights that Tyson Fury was trying to get as well. Again, with like David Price and things like that. But again, you see, a lot of it was down to he couldn't get some of the fights that he wanted because he didn't have the backing. And that's the truth of it. By the way, I think Mackenzie's done an absolutely fantastic job with Tyson Fury. But when it comes to overall resume, certainly, you can look at Anthony Joshua and say, well, Anthony Joshua, everything that he's done up to date is the same point as when Tyson Fury went to Dusseldorf and defeated Vladimir Klitschko. So yes, certainly, Anthony Joshua done it a hell of a lot faster. And when you look at the overall resume, forget the amount of fights, the overall resume, Joshua has fought and defeated more top 10 opponents than Tyson Fury. He has done that. But again, a lot of it, I do understand what Joshua was trying to say, is that he had one great night at the office, Vladimir Klitschko, never defended the belts. Never went out and tried to unify again, never had the rematch with Vladimir Klitschko. He never did all that. He took a 2.5 year hiatus. Is it his fault? Is it not his fault? Well, that's down to public opinion. But the fact is, he didn't do it. So yes, he had one great night at the office. He came back, he had 2 tune-up fights, and then went over and fought Deontay Wilder. Again, let's ask that question. Why did he call out Deontay Wilder? Why? Because he can see the limitations of Wilder. Peter Fury summed it up best when he said that any boxer will look at Deontay Wilder and think, that is a dream to fight him. He is a boxer's dream. What's Tyson Fury? He's a boxer. So that's why that Tyson Fury took on Wilder, because he knew that Wilder was easy picking for him. Even in the condition, even after all that time, he was there for the taking. Fury knew that. And again, those who want to say, well, that's not true, it was a dangerous fight, blah, blah, blah. Well, if you disagree with me, then you have to disagree with John Fury, who said the same thing. Any other top heavyweight at that time would have knocked Tyson smooth out. But Wilder couldn't do it because he was limited. That's why. So is the win over Wilder a credible win? I think it is. Of course it is. Is it a great superstar win that will put Tyson Fury in the annals of time to say the greatest of all time? No, that's just fanboying. That's just fanboy imagination. That's all it is. Fury has not yet solidified himself as the best of this era, let alone all time. Anthony Joshua, exactly the same, hasn't solidified that he's the best of this era, let alone all time. We know that there's hype machines behind both of them currently. Both of these guys have done fantastically well. Both of these guys we are proud of as Brits, let's be honest. But as I said, overall resume, sure, Anthony Joshua has fought and defeated more. Tyson Fury, he has had acid tests. The Derek Chisora fights were acid tests. Him getting dropped by Pajek and Cunningham were acid tests. Even a more recent fight against Otto Wallin, the fact that he went life and death with him, will show you that he still has limitations. Yes, he got cut and everything, but he's got tremendous, tremendous heart. He got dropped twice by Deontay Wilder, one of the biggest punches of, some say, all time. And he got up. Again, we could dissect it and say, but it wasn't the final round, so how much power was really behind Wilder's punch? Wilder has taken out quite a few opponents in the late rounds, so Wilder always carries that power, but he still got up. But again, Wilder, he's been a protected champion, so how good is that win? It's a good win, not a great win. And that's how it is. Ultimately, these two need to get in the ring. I understand what Joshua was trying to say. A lot of people are saying how Fury is untouchable. Well, he's not untouchable because people do put Fury on this pedestal of not being realistic. Fury does get dropped. Fury does get hurt. He does get beat up at times. Because he just takes that one moment in the fight where Fury switches off, that's when he gets caught. That's why he's been dropped as many times as he has. Yes, Anthony Joshua, of course, he did lose to Andy Ruiz Jr. Bounced back. Done against Andy Ruiz Jr. what Tyson Fury does in a lot of his fights. But Tyson Fury gets called a great, masterful boxer. Anthony Joshua gets called a coward. So you can't have it both ways. You can't say that Fury is a masterful boxer and Joshua ran away. You can't have that. You can't have both. So ultimately, these guys need to get in the ring. That's the only way to do it. As I said, yes, Anthony Joshua, he has achieved more in the sense of quicker. He achieved more quicker. The point where Anthony Joshua is, considering the wins that he has, a Dillian White on his resume. That is a fantastic win. Alexander Povetkin, a fantastic win. Vladimir Klitschko, fantastic win. Don't forget, the two guys that he took on when he won the belt and then his first defense, Charles Martin and Dominic Brazil, you may say, but they were gifted and they were easy. Well, they were undefeated when Anthony Joshua took them on. But only when Anthony Joshua defeats them, suddenly they become bums. Deontay Wilder takes on Dominic Brazil. Oh, what a great victory. Do you see, there's a lot of two-facedness. Not many people are very honest about it. Not many people at all. Him stopping Alexander Povetkin, he was the first person to stop Alexander Povetkin. Yes, he's been through some wars. He went through life and death with Vladimir Klitschko. For sure he did. People want to say how Vladimir Klitschko was out of the ring for 18 months. This is what a lot of the Wilder fanatics would criticise Anthony Joshua's win as far as Vladimir Klitschko is concerned. But when Tyson Fury's been out of the ring for 2.5 years, suddenly, oh well, that's a good one. No. So, I think Tyson Fury, is he the best of this era? Possibly. Quite possibly. But he's still got to prove it. I know some people don't want to hear that. They want to put him on a pedestal. So with Anthony Joshua, people want to put him on a pedestal. He's untouchable. He's shown he can adapt. And you're absolutely correct. Both of these guys can adapt. But just look at their last two fights. Tyson Fury annihilated Deontay Wilder with a style that we haven't seen Tyson Fury do before. Anthony Joshua outboxed an excellent amateur in Andy Ruiz Jr. So they both can adapt. That's why this fight is a must. Whether it's for undisputed, whether it's for 1 or 2 belts, whether it's for no belts, these two are going to have to get it on at some point. Will it ever happen? Well, time will tell. So anyway, in a nutshell, for me, I understand what it is that Anthony Joshua is talking about. Yes, it has taken Tyson Fury a long time to achieve what he has achieved. And Anthony Joshua, very, very short time in comparison. But does that mean that Tyson Fury hasn't had the acid test? No. Does that mean Tyson Fury is not the best of this era? No, of course not. These two just got to get it on. It's the only way to settle it. Them two, get in the ring, put on your gloves, and get at it. That's the only way to settle it. Anyway, that's my thoughts. You drop me yours. Click thumbs up, subscribe. Catch you all in the next video.